Good day, everybody. It's the 28th of October 2023. It's about 1:15 in the afternoon. I'm in Minsk, sort of by the end of the Red Line, as a matter of fact. That's the last subway stop. Malovskaya, I believe is what it's called. And I'm heading into the forest right here. Looks like a planted forest. You see all the trees are in a row here. It was supposed to be from 0 to +5. I don't think it's even, I think it's above +5 even right now. So it's not quite as cold as what they thought it would be, or what they said it would be for the weather. Anyhow. And current crises in the world, yes. It looks like last night there was a really heavy bombardment, of course, of Gaza. Oh, look at this. Where they planted the trees, it makes a nice area to walk. So you see some garbage here. That's what I don't like about going through here. I've seen this before because there's I don't know, there's nobody to pick up the trash here, apparently. It's not that it's really that heavy, but there is one place, there's a bench up here where it looks like there's a lot of trash. But anyway, let's get back to the news. Excuse me. Yeah, it was a heavy bombardment, and Israel was attacking Gaza, or at least the northern part of Gaza, in a certain area. Not even remember the name. You wouldn't remember it anyway, because those of us that don't live there. Anyway, some part of northern Gaza, and they attacked it from 3 directions, as well as in 3 different methods. They went from land, sea, and air. And it didn't work too well. Obviously, that was the beginning of their attack on Gaza, their major attack on Gaza. However, they lost so many. They lost right away. I think within about 2 hours, I think they lost 30, at least that's what they've been saying. I think what has Hamas been saying, or I don't even know if it's Hamas, because they cut off all communications lines. So now you have water cut off. You have everything is cut off, electricity, and now communication lines are cut off. So a lot of information was not coming out, really. But somehow it came out, and I'm not even sure which channels, but I've seen it in a lot of places in the internet that Israel lost 30 armored vehicles, and they suffered heavy losses. So, oh, by the way, before I forget, I have been hearing American forces were also taking part in that. As you know, they have special forces there in Israel. And my time in the military, I know for a fact that they had U.S. military forces involved in that, just like it was like in Ukraine at the very beginning, even before the beginning, even before Russia's special military operation, they had the United States going in there. Even in Iraq, before the war started, because as a matter of fact, that's where I know that from, because soldiers in my unit were active inside of Iraq before Desert Storm. They were storming bunkers and doing all kinds of things. So just because they announced the official beginning of a war does not mean that that's when the war began. It normally begins before that. That's why you hear a lot of people with experience talking about the fact that if they say they're thinking about going in, you can bet they're already there. And then the truth is, they're normally everywhere. They have something everywhere. Even when there's seems to be no friction coming about, America has people there in different places to their designated enemies. And even if they're not their designated enemies, the United States has people there. You got to trust me on that one. So, what was that? Something fell. I thought it was my microphone falling off. It's happened before, you know. So let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, so without electricity or anything. But then there was some images that were coming out, and I don't know if it's from this conflict, but it supposedly is, and they show Israeli soldiers taking people and children and being really rough with children, and I guess there's some press there, because the press are taping them and then questioning them why they're doing what they're doing, pushing children around And then they stuck a whole bunch of kids in a cage. It looks like a cage for a dog, for one dog, and they had at least 8 kids in there, and up to young teenagers, maybe at 13 years old, and then very young children too. And they had like at least 8 in there, all really crammed in. It looks like in a place where they put dogs, or one dog. It's enough for one dog, and they have a whole bunch of children stuffed in there. And I don't know, you probably won't. If you're sitting in the West, you're not going to see any footage like that. And I should say, before I get any further than this, I had some threat from YouTube just yesterday, and it said that I posted something that does not, I think it was a comment. They said I posted a comment somewhere that's not in keeping with their, what do they call it, their community guidelines. And when I was kind of clicking and wanting to complain, it showed some sort of a comment. I don't even quite remember what it was, but it wasn't me. If I don't know if that is actually whatever comment they're saying that I said or something, and I don't really comment much. And I certainly, when I comment, I am very, very gentle with comments. Even on my site, I don't put anything that insults anybody or nothing like that. Even when people try to insult me. I think somebody put something on my site also in the last video, thinking, I don't know, maybe they were trying to provoke me, saying something like WTF are you doing in such a, what is it, a terrible or a horrible place or bad place? I don't exactly know. But anyway, they were criticizing Belarus apparently. I don't know if it was a joke. I don't know. It's just showing you here. I should probably start talking. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to say here. So the Israel, with all of this massive bombardment, obviously that's probably a lot of the bombs that the USA has been delivering lately. You know, huge amounts. You know, plane load after plane load after plane load of bombs. You know, and you thought they were out of bombs. They told Ukraine they don't have anything anymore. You know, so they're giving them cluster munitions, and now they have, of course, ATACMS, and the missiles from ATACMS are also all filled, a lot of them, with cluster munitions. And I said in one video they certainly are doing some damage on Russia, but obviously not as bad as the West wishes. You know, Lindsey Graham is probably gnashing his teeth because his whole objective is to kill Russians. Kill Russians, kill Russians, because he's one of the good guys. That's what the good guys do. They promote killing. That's the real world today. That's our Orwellian world, as you all know. So, like I said, when I was starting to go on this little spiel, I might not be lasting very long. I probably, looks like I said, YouTube is kind of going after me, saying I said something or whatever, and I didn't, and it wasn't even me. I don't even know what the heck that's all about. But I will be on, like I said, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit later. I told you, all of you, that I was going to be working with somebody else, and he's got another person or two also working. I think there was even an American, a former police officer that's living somewhere over here that may be also involved in this. I think he's also living in Minsk. And then there was one of the people that might be playing at least a role at some time, or sometimes, or I don't know, permanent, but he was also one of the people that the FBI is looking for as being one of the insurrectionists on January 6th. So he's not living in Minsk, he's living somewhere else. So anyway, a real bad dude. He didn't have any buffalo hat on or anything like that. And of course, as you saw the footage that Tucker Carlson put up there, that was nothing anyway. The police were escorting the guy around, calm as nothing. The only deal is he looked very frightening with this buffalo hat on, but there was no insurrection. You know, this is all fake stuff. As a matter of fact, the police let them in, and I'll bet you anything that old Nancy Pelosi and some of her buddies decided, hey, let's let them in and let's make it look like they're trying to overthrow the government. Then we can go after Trump and get rid of him once and for all. I'll bet that's what that was all about. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that one. If you were listening to the rhetoric of Israel yesterday evening, it's obvious that this attack was the big attack, because they said now we'll make them pay and all sorts of threatening things, and now they're saying, oh no, it's not the big attack, because they lost their butts, I guess is what it's mostly all about. They did a very bad job, lost 30 armored vehicles and apparently a lot of people. And these helicopters, I don't know if it was from the French, because the French was sending or has sent some sort of a carrier there that instead of airplanes it has helicopters. So, but they didn't get too far and it wasn't too big, so it was probably their own helicopters that rescued the people. They brought out the dead and the wounded. Anything you hear, even from me, you have to be suspicious, because like I said, if they cut off all the communications, and even in war anyway, as you know, as the expression goes, in the event of a war, the first casualty is always the truth. Although Ukraine has this huge reputation for lying, and sort of as the U.S. They learned the U.S. should say, we taught them everything we know. So it's incredible when you look at, say, for example, Belarus and Russia. I won't say Belarus, because virtually Belarus doesn't ever have any wars. It's I don't think there's been any war has anything to do with Belarus in my lifetime, except if you want to call that little thing where the opposition tried to take over the government in 2020, just a few years ago. But even then, Belarus didn't put out any misinformation at all. But the worst you can say about Russia is they lie by omission, if you want to say that. Ukraine, they put out malinformation, which the meaning of malinformation is that it causes harm, not the same as misinformation or disinformation, to make you think something else. And misinformation is wrong information, I believe, and malinformation is information that causes harm to somebody. And of course, Ukraine puts out a lot of malinformation. Thousands are dying because of the information that they put out. And like I said, in Russia, for the Russians, the worst you could say is they lie by omission. They don't tell you anything, and as far as it always looks what's going on in Ukraine, that Ukraine is having all these losses, 700 here and 1,000 there, hundreds every day, thousands maybe. Well, not thousands, but at least sometimes 1,000, over 1,000 people die in one day in some of these attacks that Ukraine launches. But you never hear of anything about how many the Russians lose. So obviously they're losing people as well. But they just, like I said, I guess you should call that lying by omission, I suppose. Look at how yellow everything is here. Like some guy was saying on the internet, something like an ugly place or something. The weather's not that good at the moment, but Belarus is beautiful, especially in June. There's beautiful times when the sun comes out in the wintertime. It's also very nice here. It's like a lot of places in the world are nice. I'm not going to say this is nicer than every place else. Like in Texas, everything is bigger and better. But a lot of the Germans and even the British, when I was stationed over here, they talk about, well, they said that I'm not like it, but a lot of Americans, they always sit around bragging and say how much better everything is in America. So you all know that stuff. I guess maybe you call that the ugly American. I really don't know. Yeah. So, and the main thing I wanted to get into, is I wanted to give you this is a lot with a lot of historical perspective, how I see what's going on here, this whole conflict, and it has a lot of reference to what's going on in Ukraine and ideologies and things like that. And this is, like I said, my opinion. You might have a different one, but I'm sure a lot of you will agree with most of what I'm saying, at least most of what I'm saying. And who knows, maybe you'll have some what do you call them? I don't know. Some of these people that Israel hires, for example, and I bet they got a lot of people going now. They took a lot of them probably out of, dusted them off, took them out of the closet to scour the internet now and get rid of anything negative said about Israel, because that's what they do. They have thousands of them working on a regular basis anyway, and they probably employ now thousands more. So let's get into this. There was the beginning of all of this stuff, so to speak, is you can go back at least as far as 1897, when they had the first Zionist Congress of 1897. I guess that was with Herzl and all that. And as far as things concerning this conflict in Gaza, or in Palestine at all, is, it's all artificial. These are from self-serving. I'll just sort of read what I wrote here. It's self-serving, greedy, and power-hungry, arrogant elites. The beginning was, of course, the Sykes-Picot Agreement. I talked about that in one video. And from the same year, this was in 1917, the same year, you had the Balfour Declaration. And to a large extent, a lot of this stuff was going on concurrently. And, Sykes-Picot was when Great Britain and France got together and they divided up the lands of the Middle East, just kind of like they did with Africa. You get this country, I get that country, we get this portion, you get that portion. And it was the guy from Britain, his name was Sykes, and the one from France was Francois Picot. And I won't go into that too much more, but anyway, this agreement, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, that created the environment, and the Balfour Declaration was the event that made this conflict that we're having today, it made it inevitable. Hope there's not a leaf making me look weird here. One landed on me. So that was the beginning of this whole conflict. That's the, like I said, it made this problem inevitable, because the Balfour Declaration, actually the land where so-called Palestine is now, that's originally supposed to be French land. And then they made some agreement afterwards, I don't know, maybe it was just a verbal agreement, and then Britain was taking it. And actually that land, after the defeat of the Ottoman Empire, was supposed to go to, I don't know if it was Saudi Arabia. It was supposed to go to the Arabs, because that was their reward for helping the British and the French defeat the Ottoman Empire. And Great Britain reneged on it. It's like they said, well, we lied, we promised it to you, that's your reward, but we're not going to give it to you, because you're weak, you're not going to get it, just forget it, we lied, get over it. And I'm sure the Arabs didn't like that either, but anyway, then they started dispossessing them of their land and getting all the best places where the water sources begin and all that, and then squeezing them out, and that's when that all started. And then you had 1967, or at least the borders of 1967, and sometime after that, there was a chance where the Palestinians agreed that they would recognize Israel, but they would have to recognize the 1967 borders. And of course, Israel refused. They wanted more. more. Israel might want peace, but they also want more land. Maybe greater Israel. Some of them definitely want greater Israel. Greater Israel covers a huge area. Really huge. And a lot what they're doing now is Eretz Israel, which I guess Eretz Israel means the promised land. And they say that God gave them that land. So even if these Palestinians had been there long before even Judaism existed, God gave them that land. And if you talk about sometimes, I don't even know if it's real history, because a lot of this stuff is not really verified. The kingdom of David or something, and how big was this kingdom of David? And I guess it's not really quite agreed upon, but a lot of them believe that that's what should be the land of Israel. It's so strange, when at one point in time, any point in time, when any piece of land ever, for even a short time, it doesn't matter, just like what's going on in Ukraine, if it belonged to some different country, then they want it anyway, they want it back. And a lot of people get so fanatic they will go killing for it. Even if everybody living on that land does not even speak their language, people want it back. You know, not their religion, doesn't speak their language, doesn't have their traditions or customs, but yet they want that land, and they say that it's theirs. It's just like Ukraine, like you look at the Crimea. The Crimea has always been Russian, even when it was part of Ukraine administratively, not physically. Administratively, it was only part of Ukraine. I guess that was Khrushchev, and he made his mistake. Some people say he was drinking, and his wife or whatever wanted that. So he just said, okay, well, we just give that to Ukraine. It's a little bit like Lenin did with the Donbass, and Stalin did with all kinds of other countries, and everywhere he just started splitting them up and carving off a piece of this one and giving it over there. And yeah, so, but a lot of time you have to go back to the ethnic, who the ethnic people are on a certain land, and if it's you know, if you do that, you know, you'd have to split Russia up, and I think that's the what some people want to do with Russia, split it up into different places because there's ethnically different people. But everybody gets along. Yugoslavia used to be like that under Tito. You know, everybody got along, and then after Tito was gone, you know, people started fighting there. So, but anyway, a lot of this depends on what you believe. You know, what part of history, and I don't know. But there's what is it, the Greater Israel or the Kingdom of David? Like I said, it depends on what you believe. How big was David's kingdom, if you're even going to go by that? And does it take all of Palestine, Transjordan, and part of Egypt, as well as I think Syria, maybe all of Syria, I don't know, all of Lebanon? Yeah, and even in those times, even maybe when David was the king of Israel, there's no evidence that these land actually really belonged to them. It might have had some sort of a connection, but I don't know. But like I said, Palestinians have been there for forever. So, and anyway, that's mostly the historical background. Let's talk a little bit more about that. But what else is going on today? The society in Israel, the people have always been under pressure to believe that Palestinians have no right to be on that land because God gave it to the Jews. Palestinians or no Palestinians, many believe that there was a large kingdom of David, and like I said, that's not actually been decided yet. But this history, it fuels this ideology of what's going on right now. And there's some guy coming here. I want him to stare at me. I don't know, it distracts me, I guess. And it's like the Ukrainians, you know, they've been conditioned to hate the Russians only for one generation. That's I think that began right around World War II, and apparently they had this sort of an ideology, even though it wasn't at that time called Nazism, but they had this sort of an ideology of hate even just before World War II, before Adolf came in, and I guess then that's why Bandera just absolutely loved Adolf Hitler. And like he said, when he started massacring Jews, he wanted to cut off all their heads and stick them at the feet of Adolf Hitler. And of course, actually, to be honest with you, the Germans were appalled at even hearing such things like that. So, you know, and you think how bad, at least what we're told, how bad the Nazis were, the German Nazis, the Ukrainians, you know, they really shocked the Germans so in some of their brutality, and so much massacres going on here in Belarus. Thousands and thousands, you know, hundreds of thousands of people died in Belarus. And that's going to be part of what that channel is about that I'm talking about. We're going to be doing a lot of information on that, a lot of things that I don't know. The guy that's going to be running this thing, he knows a lot about that. He's been to, I think, at least over 100 concentration camps in Belarus, you know, where they had work camps and Belarusians forced into slave labor, and you know, there's a lot of places where they killed a lot of Belarusians. 200 villages disappeared. They just wiped them out, killed everybody. Mostly, that was, of course, I think led by Germans, but the Ukrainians, I guess, mostly did most of the wiping out. And it's very strange that the Belarusians don't have a grudge against the Ukrainians. And of course, these are not all Ukrainians. This was the Banderite Ukrainians doing this sort of stuff. I have to go with that. I have to say that. So it's not that all Ukrainians are like that, just like not all Palestinians are Hamas. And I don't even know that Hamas is so bad as what they say it is, That's just what we're told. Like I said, the first casualty of any war is the truth. But the Ukrainians, they're fed with so many lies and fake history, lies upon lies. So that's why they think the way they do. Oh, what was that? Sounds like a shot. And these ideologies, that's what's mostly this stuff. For example, you look at this divide of ideology between the Palestinians and the Israelis. So this is the meat of what I was going to be talking about right now. The Israelis, they don't see any value in the lives of Palestinians. As a matter of fact, they see less value, and unfortunately, I have to say this, of anybody who is not Jewish, and you have to be Jewish by blood, not by just accepting the religion, but if you are not of Jewish blood, you are of a lesser person. A lot of them think this way, sadly. I'm not saying all of them do, but a lot of them do, that we are the goy, the inferiors. So, and of course, they think much less of Palestinians. There's even Zionist Christians, and there's even people that they're not Christians or Jews at all. And maybe Vladimir Putin, because he was just talking the other day, talking about Satanists, maybe these are like the Satanists. And there's a lot of them in the US government and a lot of these other governments, like in the Baltics and things like that. I don't know what these people are. They're just like, they just hate. They think they're so superior. And the Satanists, I think it was Putin was trying to actually say that a lot of them control much of the government and the systems today. Look at, for example, and I'm not going to say, because I don't know anything for sure about much about George Soros, but he says he's an atheist. A lot of people say, oh, he's a Jew, he's a Jew. Well, he was born that way. He was born a Jew, but he's not a Jew. And maybe some of the Israelis, they have some sympathy towards him because he was, but he turned Jews into the Nazis. So I don't know if somebody's shooting off firecrackers or what this deal is here. Yeah. So, but like I said, a lot of these people are just heavily indoctrinated. They can't understand. First I'll show you around here. Read a little bit. See what these people might be doing over there. Yeah, they're probably the ones just, yeah, it looks like they're just throwing firecrackers here. So, but, the odd thing is, for people like you that are watching this, and myself, because most of you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't at least feel somewhat the way I feel about this, but a lot of these people, like you see what's going on in Israel, when they're carpet bombing and just killing so many people. They're killing thousands of Palestinians, including thousands of children. It's been way over 2,000 children they've killed now. And they can't understand why people are upset about that. And but a lot of them admit that they see Palestinians, and maybe even to a large extent the rest of us, as animals, that we are not humans, we're subhumans. Like I was telling you in some of the other videos, Untermenschen. But they don't even see them as Untermenschen. They put them below Untermenschen. They put them as animals. And they even say that. They even say that after there's been some huge bombardment where hundreds of kids, and you see, I don't even want to describe what happened to these kids, but these horrible, horrible things and these massive deaths and things like that, and they just can't understand why anybody would be upset about that, because they see it as Jewish lives are precious, but the other lives are not precious, especially not Palestinians. Maybe they see people like us, the Goy, as subhumans, and they see the Palestinians as even below that, as just animals. Unfortunately, this is really terrible. And there are a lot of Israelis that really despise this too. They don't like that. They don't like that one bit, and they're speaking out. So actually, the hope for mankind, a lot of time, might even rest in these people, even these Jewish, maybe even Israeli people that don't think in these other terms. But, somebody was telling me I should tell you guys to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Push that subscribe button, and after you do so, and even if I get deleted, remember the name From the Other Side, because we will be broadcasting probably, if I get deleted, and I might get deleted from this video, which maybe you won't even see it, but I'm trying to tell you to, if you remember the name From the Other Side, that's going to be the name of our podcast and how we're going to be doing it. And it's not really going to be broadcast on YouTube. It's just going to be maybe a couple little teasers. It will be on Rumble and some other places. These people are talking real loud. I have to, let me get over here. This lady. So you have to go to Rumble. Ready to rumble. If you want to see that. From the Other Side. And of course they're going to be, I believe, live podcasts. It's going to end up 2 hours. I'm not even quite sure what days. We haven't got that down yet. And that will happen. It was supposed to be happening by the end of this month, but there was a death in the family. Now he's coming over here. Probably some drunk guy. Probably wants me to give him some money. So anyway, another thing that came out, I guess it was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was talking about how BlackRock actually owns virtually all of Ukraine, and I knew that already anyway, but he says they own it through other companies. So when you see that other companies are involved in there, it's actually BlackRock, because they own those companies. And he said that a lot of the, oh gosh, here comes that guy. A lot of these houses in the United States are actually owned by BlackRock as well. Huh? Angliski, yeah, да. Yeah. Я не говорю по-русски. Actually, this area, I think there's sometimes people come through here that drink a lot. So that guy probably was drinking. But anyway, he seems friendly. Maybe he wasn't drinking. I just don't like people staring at me. He stops and he stares for a long time. I don't know. Like I said, I was born a little bit differently. I was told you don't stare at people. Maybe it's a little different in this culture. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe different culture, different people. So anyway, BlackRock apparently owns, and I knew they owned a large portion of Ukraine, because a lot of this, you know, the sad truth is, Zelensky, he doesn't give a damn about Ukraine. He doesn't give a damn about Ukrainian people. Zelensky, as you can all see, you know, like Jesus once said, he said, know them by their fruits. And I challenge you, if you want to figure out a lot of these politicians, know them by their fruits. Look at Zelensky. Look at what he's doing to Ukraine. Look at what he's doing to the people of Ukraine. Ukraine is getting decimated. He's getting all of his people slaughtered. He's selling it all. He's selling it all for weapons. He's virtually probably sold off the Crimea, and that's why he's so desperate to get the Crimea. And that's what I've been saying in so many videos. I've said this for a long, long, long time. Like I said, when I was in the military and I worked for a lot of politicians and generals and things. I've gathered that. You know, it was a dream of the United States military government in general to kick Russia out of the Crimea. And of course, after the fall of the Soviet Union, I'm talking about before the fall of the Soviet Union, but after the fall of the Soviet Union, as NATO is going in and taking over all of these countries, of course, they started realizing, hey, we can take the Crimea too. And that's, of course, what it was all about, you know, to get Ukraine in and then occupy Crimea with U.S. military bases, kick the Russians out of there. You know, they had a 99-year lease, and of course that lease was up at one point in time, and then, I don't know, on and on and on. So anyway, they wanted to supplant Russia and take over the Crimea for themselves, and that was mostly the whole deal about that. So selling, you know, all of Ukraine to BlackRock, and who knows, maybe the Crimeas was sold to BlackRock too. But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say today. I hope it's not going to be that long of a video. I never look at my watch. I should just look at the battery. It looks like I still have a little bit of battery time. Looks like about the same length. Maybe it's going to be 45 minutes, who knows. But I appreciate you joining me, and well, we have to hope that this thing doesn't get any bigger. Hopefully this thing disappears, what's going on in Gaza right now. And like I said, a lot of these people, it's like their culture, they've been culturized to think of these Palestinian people as animals. And if you think that these are super bad people for doing that, you have to think of the United States and what it was like. I remember even when I was a kid growing up, and you saw, say, black people in series or movies or something like that, they were always the servants. They never really played any kind of a big role in that. So even into the 1950s. So you have to realize that these people, well, where they're at in their head. So we don't understand them, and they don't understand us. It seems unbelievable that they don't understand how we feel about human lives, but they've just learned how to fake it and act like they care, because that's what they know the rest of the world likes and wants to hear. You know, that. Anyway, nothing more to be said about that. Again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one, if I don't get deleted. Bye-bye.